Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the East Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you can do about it. Hey, I'm excited today. We're going to talk about diabetes. This is Diabetes Prevention Month and Awareness Month as well. And I brought in two super people, really only invited one, but another tagged along. And listen, it's going to be off the chain. We have Peter and Maria from the YMCA, and I'm excited about it. Why don't you call somebody, tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it. And we're back. Well, it's been a joy to start off this day with you, Mr. Campbell. We started this journey a couple of months ago asking you if you would come and share a little bit about diabetes, given the fact that November is the Diabetes Awareness Month. But before we get into the diabetes, I'm always fascinated with the stories and the trajectory of life that those who come on the show. So the first part of this, can we just talk a little bit about you, and you can introduce even your guest who's going to now take over for you, but let's talk a little bit about you. How did you get to where you are now?
It's a very crazy story.
Okay.
Because I started off in the performing arts, and I became an actor. I went to acting school, and after the first year, they evaluated me and kicked me out of Boston University. And I was like put into a tailspin. I pivoted and went to New York and studied with Stella Adler.
Oh.
And that's where I realized you need to have a background in everything to be a really good actor or performer. And so I wound up going to the University of Delaware and got a degree in art history, history and languages.
Okay.
And when I came out, I said, great, what do I do with that?
Okay.
And the answer is, you go into opera. And that's what I wound up doing. I had a career in opera for about 25 years.
Oh, wow.
It was fairly inconsistent, and it required me to have maybe a second job in order to support myself. So I wound up going to the YMCA, and someone said, you should work here. Because I was actually working out there first as a member. And then they said, you should actually work for us.
Okay.
And I've been working there since 2005.
Oh, wow. So that's almost 17 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. Wow. And I've been in the fitness center. I've been a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, aquatic fitness instructor, a coach for the YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program.
Excellent.
And now an administrator.
Okay.
Along with my colleague, Lupe Rodriguez.
Yes.
All right. So who is Lupe?
Lupe. Okay, so I just started actually working at the YMCA. I've been there for about 4 months. Oh. And I started especially at the Diabetes Prevention Program because I was diagnosed with diabetes, or with pre-diabetes, I'm sorry, about 4 years ago. During that journey with my own health and trying to get healthy, I didn't realize that there was, that I needed help. Right. And I found about the Diabetes Prevention Program. I started actually taking the program, and during this time I realized, oh my God, I want to do something like this for my community. Yes. I really want help people to become healthy. Right. And I actually reached out to Peter. I was like, I'll be so interested in becoming a health coach for the program. What do I need to do? And he immediately replied back, and he was like, yeah, we you like to talk to the director, and that's what I did. And after that, I'm here. I really think it was meant to be. I'm really passionate about the topic, and I really want to help out whoever I can.
Yeah, so Peter was your connecting link.
Yeah.
It seemed like, Peter, you have that spirit that where I can help, I want to be.
Connection.
Okay, hey, that's great.
Absolutely.
So you were working out at the Y, and I guess you must have been more than just a participant. You must have been doing some other things for them to notice you.
So there was a volunteer event.
Okay.
That I said, oh, sure, I'll volunteer for that. And I connected to the director of healthy living at the branch level, and she's the one who said, with your kind of communication skill, you should really be working Here, it'd be a fun job. You'd get to meet all these members. You'd be able to help them with, putting together a fitness program or wherever you happen to be. Growing in the Y means you may start off doing one thing and then you just start building in other components. And the next thing you know, you could easily be in a very different position from the one that you started out with. So that's sort of what happened to me.
I was going to say, 17 years later, you have just about worked in every aspect of the organization. And that's interesting because when people talk about nonprofit organizations, that's how it happens. You find talent. And it starts off, but then it morphs into many different other things and handles many different. But it takes a special person to be in nonprofit organizations.
And I don't come from the nonprofit world, so I actually started working with a bank in Delaware. And I was in a corporate mindset. I had gotten into management in that bank, and I realized very quickly what a mismatch that was. It wasn't quite a good fit, and they changed my job so that it did become a much better fit, and I was simultaneously learning how to sing opera as I was working and singing at the same time, and ultimately I said, you know what, I want to leave the work behind, and I want to start singing completely. And I made this decision after I moved to New York City. And it was in August of 2001. I was living in Manhattan, and I was working at a financial services company in the Wall Street area. In fact, it was the World Financial Center. And the week before 9/11, I made the decision to stop working there. And I was so nervous, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is one of the most expensive cities in the world, and now I don't have this income. I'm living off what I've saved. Is this going to work? The next week, 9/11 happened. And I said, oh, wow. If I had been still working, I would have walked through the World Trade Center at the time that the first plane hit the building. And who knows what would have happened. So I always say, somebody up there must like me.
Like you a whole lot. And it was destined that you would be here today. What other experiences that you have other than being at the Y?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I was actually I stay-at-home mom for 10 years.
Absolutely. And that's a huge job.
That is a huge job. Because it's that's another thing. Daycare could be very expensive. So I did decided with my husband that I was just gonna stay home with the kids. But again, I just feel that I needed to do something else because now they're at school and they're a little older, so I can pursue kind of my own thing and my own dreams in a way. And for the longest time before reaching out to the YMCA and to Peter, my dream really, or I feel actually that is my purpose in a way, it was health, kind of showing people it's okay, all of these foods are healthy. I try to help my family, making better health choices. So that's, kind of I went back into the workforce after 10 years of, staying at home with my kids. Doing into this great organization. I have found out starting at the Y, it is really a good organization. The people that are involved with the different programs really, care. He definitely cares. I definitely care too. To the community and what we can bring to people, and trying to reach as many people as we can with the different programs. So.
Well, that's we are going to get into talking a little bit more about this, and I'm very glad because there's a passion that I'm sensing. It's beyond just something to do. This is a calling, and that's very important. Which Y do you all come from?
Oh, you mean in terms of our branches?
Yes.
So I'm at Brandywine, the Brandywine branch. That's where I worked primarily. It's also closest to where I live.
So that's on 202, am I correct?
Yeah, it's on Mount Lebanon Road, just off 202.
Okay,
You can see it if you're
right.
driving
Okay.
on it.
Because I am a member of the YMCA, of the Y, because I go to the one right here off of what's that? Delaware Avenue.
Right.
Yeah, it's
the Central Y.
Yeah, I go to the Central Y, and I'm into this whole health thing as well, and I've lost about 15 pounds.
Wow.
So
Excellent.
I don't have diabetes, but I'm they call it pre-hypertension though.
Nice.
But I've learned something: when you eat right, things tend to go right. And that becomes important. So when we were putting this show together, it became almost a passion for myself. That I really want to talk with people who understand what's happening with people's health. So this is why we asked you both to be here today. Well, really, we asked you, and you brought along. And I'm so grateful because you're leaving the Y, and that's going to be a sad day. But I'm sure you will never really leave, but you'll leave.
I will. I said I will stay because I really. The mission of the YMCA is something I really connect to. Right. And I think a lot of people don't realize necessarily that the YMCA is a not-for-profit organization.
Right.
We're in the community to help the community.
Right.
And with that kind of outreach, we want our programs to speak to the community and have them participate. And we try to make it as easy to participate as possible, whether it's time-wise or financially. That's all part of our thinking process as we try to develop programs to meet people's needs.
Yeah, and let me just tell you, down through the years, they have been a pillar of the community, and I'm very grateful for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about diabetes. We're going to talk about, some of the choices people make and why, what communities that you may be targeting in order to make sure the education is there so that they'll know their choices.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
For prevention of diabetes, the best thing is to make sure you're at a healthy weight. You want to eat healthy foods and really keep seeing your primary care doctor to make sure that you are staying healthy so that they can do routine monitoring of your blood and keeping you accountable for your healthy weight and healthy lifestyle. So a pre-diabetic basically means that a patient their blood sugar is somewhat high. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's not. It kind of fluctuates between a normal range. A lot of times it depends on what they have eaten. If they've eaten really high sugary foods or high in carbohydrates, their blood sugar will probably likely be a lot higher than, say, a normal person's blood sugar after that meal. But yet it's not so high that it's causing problems yet. Diabetes will affect your kidneys, will affect your heart, whereas pre-diabetes, you might be on the road to that, but not quite there. And that's at pre-diabetes and before is really where we would like to catch our patients. If you are a pre-diabetic, you can definitely change your lifestyle and get out of that category. A lot of times it has to do with just changing your lifestyle, changing your eating habits and changing your exercise habits or start exercising. Possibly just losing a few pounds will be enough to get you out of that range of pre-diabetes. There are a few different ways that we can screen for and diagnose diabetes. The most common one is a hemoglobin A1C. This is a blood test that can be performed that will kind of give us an average of what a patient's blood sugar has been doing over a 3 to 4 month time period. We do use it for screening as well. Sometimes we'll see that a patient is borderline or pre-diabetic, and we can start to take more intensive preventative actions to help prevent that patient from going on to become diabetic. Risk factors for diabetes would include if you have a family history of diabetes. Also, if you are overweight, you are more likely to become diabetic. If you have a poor diet, if you eat high sugary foods or high carbohydrate foods, you're going to be more likely to become diabetic as well. Other risk factors for diabetes, Hispanic is definitely a race factor that you are more predisposed to diabetes, as well as being a Pacific Islander or Native Alaskan. They are also at higher risk for diabetes, as well as Native American.
And we're back. Well, just at the commercial break, we were just talking, and I wanted to make sure I enunciated Mary's, not Mary.
Maria. Lupe.
Lupe. I knew I got that right. and Peter was basically saying where it came from, and I think that would be a great educational point as we lead into the diabetes. Let's talk about that, Lupe.
So when I first was interacting with you, I have your name down on the piece of paper. It says Maria Rodriguez. Okay. But you actually go by Lupe, which is short for Guadalupe. And it stuck with me because there is this thing that opera singers say to each other before they go out on stage. They say, in boca Lupe, in the mouth of the wolf, because you want, the audience is your wolf, and you want them to go like this from your performance. And so, as a result, it's your name stuck with me as Lupe. But I don't think of her as a wolf.
Yeah. No. But this is excellent, and I just love when we can, see other things. And sometimes the best part of the show is between commercials, and I wanted to pull that in as we now talk about a topic that is really serious. People dying and from that from diabetes, and the month of November has been designated as Diabetes Awareness Month.
Yes.
And you all do this. Y'all coach classes and teach classes about diabetes and the effects. So I'll let you, Peter, start wherever you want to, just to give us some education on diabetes.
So diabetes is basically when it's your body's inability to take insulin manufacturing. The insulin is what introduces sugar, glucose, into your cells. And all of a sudden, your body is unable to make the insulin, enough insulin to be able to get the glucose to go into your cells. As a result, this glucose just sort of starts traveling through your bloodstream, wreaking havoc. And that is what the problem is. And so there is a real medical condition called prediabetes. And that's what our program is catering to. There are millions of people who have diabetes already, but there are many more millions who have prediabetes. Most of these people don't even know they have it.
Wow.
And they're on their way to getting diabetes if they don't do something about it first.
Now, before you go any further there, let me just, because I want to make this more interactive. How do I, for example, is there a test that my doctor can give me to say you're pre?
Do you want to answer that?
Sure.
Yeah, usually when you go to the doctor, they take your weight, and most of people, also it comes with the age. The older that you get, the higher risk, and if you're over 45, and if you weigh more than you're supposed to, which right now it's pretty much everybody. The doctor usually they take your A1C, and it's usually like a little pinch that they
it's a blood test.
With a blood test. They'll take your A1C number or your blood glucose test. Which again, it's a blood test, and that will let the doctor know what your number is, and that's why we have what's your number, because we want people to be aware and to ask. That's something even if they believe, they are. Because again, a lot of people could be living with prediabetes and not knowing. So it's very important. Please ask your doctor. When you go to your doctor, ask them, what is my A1C number? Have you, take, why don't we do a test? Or I want to know what my A1C number is.
Yeah, and that's interesting because when I go every year and get a physical, and the doctor, when he does all of my blood work, he's very good. I had him on the show, Dr. Estock, and he's very big on sitting me down, talking about all of the diseases. One of the ones that he is often very specific on is the hypertension as well as diabetes, especially for African Americans and brown and black people. So when you were starting off by sharing, I wanted to make sure the audience knew that there is you can be tested for this to see whether you are pre, or because your body should be producing a certain amount, I imagine.
Yeah, if your A1C is between 5.7 and 6.4,
Good, you answered that
or if your fasting blood glucose is from 100 to 124 inclusive, then you have that designation of pre-diabetes. Now, you know, you want to ask your doctor, am I diabetic? That's one of the questions that I ask all people who are coming into the program. Have you ever been diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes? And if the answer is, I have been, I have been told that I am diabetic, you're overqualified for this program. So we're really trying to reach the people who are on their way to that. If you do have diabetes, I don't want to leave anyone without information. I give them a link to healthydelaware.gov or .org. I'm not quite sure what the last three letters are.
It's Gov.
But there is a self-management program that you could take for free. So I always want to make sure that people who do call, they're looking for help. They want something. We've got at least a way for you to go. You can't take our program, but you can take this one.
Yeah, and if I can say something about, you know, prediabetes and the prevention of the disease, you know, I always tell people it's better to catch it before. If you have been diagnosed with diabetes and you don't do anything about it, it's going to turn into diabetes. You know, it may take 1 year, it may take 2 years, but you're gonna become diabetic. And you know what? The first thing the doctor is gonna tell you, he's gonna tell you, eat healthy, exercise, and then he's probably going to give you some kind of medicine. When you have been diagnosed with prediabetes, all you need to do is, you know, change your eating habits and exercise. You don't have to be poking your finger every day. You know, once that you have to do once you have diagnosed with diabetes, you know, along with watching your diet, exercising, taking medicine, you need to check your blood.
But even that whole idea that the doctor says, change your diet, get more exercise, and come back and see me. And you're like, okay.
What do I do?
I don't know how to do that. I don't exactly, what's my next step? What would changing my diet look like? I don't even know where to start. Exactly, where to start. And that's where our program can come in.
Instead of eating a full bag, this is just the mindset of a person who don't know. Instead of eating a full bag of potato chips, I'll eat a half a bag when I shouldn't be eating them at all.
Well, you bring up a really good point here, because this is a lifestyle change program. It's not prescriptive. We don't tell you potato chips are bad, don't eat them. We say, when you open up potato chips, measure out how much you're eating. Just measure it out. And see how many fat grams you just consumed. Because our program looks at reducing your fat grams each day. Every person gets a goal for how many fat grams you should be eating each day. And the reason for that, if you're trying to lose weight, if that's one of the goals, and it is one of the goals of the program, to lose 7% of your starting body weight, that also means you're going to start taking in fewer calories. Well, there are twice as many calories in a gram of fat than in a gram of carbohydrate or a gram of protein. And so that's why we say, let's make life easier. Just look at your fat grams and let's try to get them to this level. And yes, you know, potato better than potato chip, but I'm not going to tell you, no more potato chips, you got to stop that. The answer is, that's what we eat. We like it. It's going to be part of our eating for the rest of our lives, maybe. Manage it. Let's think about managing it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, and if I can tell a funny story about, you know, what he's talking about, you know, going back to reaching out to our communities, you know, African American, Latino communities. I was talking to my to a friend. He's Puerto Rican and he has diabetes, right? He was like, okay, so tell me this: how are you gonna tell a Latino, you know, don't eat rice? Or how are you? I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing in this program, because we're not gonna tell them not to eat rice. We're gonna tell them, measure your rice.
Absolutely.
You know, look at your portions. That's what this program is about. You know, just being aware of how much you're eating. You know, the quality of the food that you're eating, and because he was like, oh, okay, that sounds good.
Right.
You know, because when he was diagnosed with diabetes, he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, okay, just don't eat rice anymore. You know, don't eat carbs. Don't eat bread.
And that's really kind of what I have been told. And that's why, you know, when you came in and said, you know, no, we're not going to say don't eat any potato chips. We're going to say measure, cut back. That will help you to get into a lifestyle. Because whenever there is a fast of something, you start craving it, and then you got to cheat. So I'm liking what you're sharing. I might have to come join over there.
Definitely.
But it's designed to be inclusive. This program is designed to be inclusive. Should I share this factoid? I am eligible to take my own program.
Oh wow.
Because I meet enough risk factors.
Okay.
And that keeps me always aware. Okay. You know, when you notice that you have enough risk factors that make you qualified to take the diabetes prevention program, the one that I administer, then I'm always watching weight, and I'm also watching my activity level.
Okay.
So that's another goal of the program is we know that people are in jobs that you're seated all day, and we lead a fairly sedentary lifestyle. And one of the goals is to become more physically active to the tune of 150 minutes per week.
Okay.
So if you took a vigorous walk Monday through Friday for half an hour each day, you've hit that goal. And that's why I think the YMCA included a membership as part of this program. If you are participating in this program, you can get a 4-month for free membership to the YMCA that doesn't even have to be just for you. It could be for you, another adult, any eligible children who live in the household. Everyone gets that membership for free for 4 months. It is a regular membership. And after the 4 months is done, you can renew it for 8 months at 50% off.
Okay.
So the program is a year in length. The membership potentially is a year in length as well, because we understand we're administering the program. We have the coaches that have the lifestyle background to help you get through it.
Right.
But we've also got all of these facilities. We've got swimming pools, we've got gymnasiums, we've got fitness centers, we've got group fitness classes, aquatic fitness classes. If the participants were able to take part in those activities, that would help them.
Wow.
So that's why I think the YMCA decided, let's include the membership as part of the participants' experience in the program.
So what I'm getting so far out of what we're discussing is, if we can get a healthy life change, we can combat a lot of things, especially diabetes.
You know, I say this to some people, if you, by the 16th week, which is the end of the first phase of the program, that's the time when we want to see, in 16 weeks, were you able to lose 7% of your starting body weight? Did you become more physically active to 150 minutes per week? If you hit those goals and you got blood work done, you should see your blood glucose levels going down, especially if you compared it to blood work you had before. But your other issues may also be affected. Your risk for heart attack and stroke may go down. Hypertension may go down. Blood pressure may go down. There are all of these other things that are sort of traveling along with you just by focusing on these two goals. And we're there to help you find your way.
Okay, your way.
And not to mention, though, how you feel. You know, how you feel, you know, that energy that you feel really when you nourish your body with, you know, healthier food, when you start becoming more active. And, you know, I can attest to that. You know, after having my third baby, you know, I wasn't feeling great. And so far I have lost like 35 pounds just by, changing my lifestyle, trying to go to the gym and, really focusing on what I eat, and really the change on energy, on how I feel, on how I get up every day, on how I sleep. That also has a big impact on how you sleep. When you eat healthier and you exercise, you can rest so much better at night. So it has so many good so many positive things when you start making healthier lifestyle changes.
Great. It's interesting because as I'm listening to you, the goal, I'm learning so many things today, but especially you also said something, Peter, that was interesting. When you change your eating, your lifestyle, it affects more than just one thing.
Oh yeah.
And as you shared, with your energy level, people around here, who work with me, they always tired, but I'm always moving because I've learned something. The more you move, the more your body is active, and the more your body is active, and you're cutting back the fat. Because I had to learn that. I always said, if I had to give up the sweet potato pie, if I have to give up the honey buns, I'm going to die because I have to have them.
Right.
Well, I did kind of give up the honey buns. But every so often, I'll go ahead and have me a piece of sweet potato pie, whatever. But I'm very active. And that's the key. You all confirmed that for me today. So I'm very glad. So those of you who are watching us, I do want to make sure that you understand that there are several things that they are sharing that is important. They didn't restrict you. He talked about inclusion. Changing how much we eat matters, and not only how much, what we're eating, but it's still blowing me away when you said, Peter, that I can still have a couple of chips. I'm glad I'm going to have a couple of chips when I leave off this show today, because I'm glad to hear that. But it's not about overdoing it.
Right.
It's about paying attention to your
and
body.
being aware.
Being
What
aware
am
of what
I
you're
doing? What I mean, I'm an active participant in my life. Rather than I am sitting watching TV. I don't even know what commercial break comes. Oh my gosh, I ate the whole bag. I don't even remember. I just kept doing it automatically. It's about developing the awareness.
So what we're going to do, and this is really great. I wished I could have gotten you on here much earlier. This is one of my better shows, especially on the education side, because we try to do educational programming as well. Because this is going to help, especially the Black and brown community, because we eat so much fatty foods. I have people here who said they don't know how they're going to give up their chitlins and how they're going to give up their pig feet. But it's interesting. If it's going to save our lives, we have to cut back or cut out. But what we got to do is get a lifestyle that is doable.
Exactly.
That's it. That's a lifestyle that's doable.
I think that's really what the program is about. And I always try to make people understand or remind them. This is a process. I work as enrolling people into the program, but I'm also a coach to the program in Spanish. We also have classes in Spanish. And what I tell them, all the time, remember, it is a process. It's an everyday, a choice that you want to make, and it's going to take a while, and that is why the program is 1 year of length. Because we understand that it's going to have some time. It's going to take some time for people to be able to make those changes and to be able to go through with them for a long period of time.
So I guess continuity is going to be the key of continuing on, and not just hitting it and saying, okay, I lost 5 pounds, I can go back to going crazy.
Exactly.
No, you got to continue on in this trajectory. I guess that's how we look at it.
Can I make it the new habit?
Right, and that's what I'm taking away from this show. You're giving that to me real good. Your lifestyle matters. After you have started, we're going to come back, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the why and how people can get more information, and we're going to try to wrap up in that way. But this has been wonderful. Thank you so very much. We'll be right back.
Before the YMCA's diabetes prevention program, I would drink about 2 liters of soda a day.
Before I found out I was pre-diabetic, I would just eat everything that came across my plate. I had very high blood pressure at one point. I had high cholesterol. I tended to work a little too much and to eat late at night when I got home.
Trying to fit in a healthy lifestyle has been a real struggle to me. I realise that work is important, but I'm important too.
Very often we hear so much about, oh, well, only black people get diabetes, or only Latino people get diabetes, or only Asian people get diabetes, depending on the community you're in. Everyone gets diabetes.
With 26 million Americans diagnosed with diabetes, there's no denying the magnitude of the problem and the impact this places on our patients, their families, and the burden on the healthcare system as a whole. We expect the number of diabetics to double within the next 25 years. Diabetes can lead to some catastrophic complications, including blindness, heart attacks, strokes, and kidney failure.
Certainly, there are things that can increase your risk. If you have someone in your family who's a first-degree relative, a mom, a dad, a sibling, anyone who's had gestational diabetes in the past or has had a baby that weighs more than 9 pounds, all these things can increase your personal risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Right now, many physicians are using the hemoglobin A1C as a simple blood test to tell us whether or not someone has diabetes or prediabetes.
The hemoglobin A1C gives us a motion picture of what your sugar has been over the last 8 to 12 weeks and an average of that.
If your A1C ranges between 5.7 to 6.4, that tells us that you may be at risk of having prediabetes.
I thought my health was pretty good, but then I went to the doctor, I did my physical, and that's when he told me that I was pre-diabetic. I thought it was a death sentence.
Often when they find out they have prediabetes, they're really devastated because it may even seem that they're destined to become diabetic themselves. That is not true. When I meet someone who has prediabetes, I get really excited because this is an opportunity to really change the course of their health.
The doctor explained this would be an opportunity for me to not just delay the onset of diabetes, but perhaps even prevent it.
In 2002, it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine that, in fact, you can prevent or delay the onset of type 2 diabetes through a lifestyle program.
The YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program is a year-long program consisting of 16 core classes, meeting 1 hour once a week with a group and a qualified health coach.
Once the 16-week cycle is over, once a month thereafter, the group comes together for reinforcement education.
We're going to move into how to really work on taking in less fat. The two main goals of the program that we work on through the course of the 16 weeks is to lose 7% of their starting weight and to increase their physical activity to a minimum of 150 minutes per week. Every week when they come in, the first thing that we do is we take their weight. Their weight is not shared unless they choose to share their weight.
I was really excited because I reached my goal weight first.
If you can get your trackers out.
When we go to the sessions, we track our food intake every day, we track our physical activity every day, and we hand this into the lifestyle coach, and she comes back to us and gives us hints on how we can improve.
Little tips like if you're ordering salad, order the dressing on the side. When you order a meal, cut it in half immediately to take half of it home.
Does anybody remember what pattern eating meant? Watching the type of food you take in is going to also make a difference in the calories and the fat. We look at the food labels, which is a very good source of information.
The calories is 10 and the total fat is 0.
That's a good snack. That's a good snack.
The camaraderie that develops is very nice because the research does show that individuals that engage in group care tend to have better outcomes.
Looks like a lot in that plate.
Now look at when they come into this group-based format, they seem to bond with the other people in the group. And I think it's important for people to see that they're not in it by themselves.
As a team, we've developed together. We've learned together. We make choices together.
Because you don't go to the buffet all the time.
I needed other people with me to see that other people are going through the same problem as me.
That's good, guys.
After the core 16 classes are done, you'll continue to meet monthly with a health coach in your class to keep you on the right track to better health.
Working on that.
The YMCA Diabetes Prevention Program is the best possible option for patients.
This program is what we've been waiting for.
I encourage individuals here and my own patients to participate in the YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program.
You're making a positive change in your life. You're taking control of your future. You're learning about something that can help change your destiny.
It's really improved my clarity of thinking. It's made me much more self-aware and more self-confident that I can actually stay on this particular program of Change for Life.
The program hasn't been a diet for me, it's been a lifestyle adjustment. It made me feel better, it made me feel healthier, it made me feel stronger.
You can take control. The YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program really said to me, stop making excuses, do it now.
I feel really good about myself, and I'm not scared anymore. I know I could beat this, I did beat it. It has changed my life, and it will change yours.
As a healthcare provider, what's important for me is that it works, and you can't beat that. An institution you trust in a program that works.
And we're back. Well, we were with Maria and with Peter, and this has been a really pleasurable show, and I'm very grateful that you all took the time to meet with me. You know, as I was getting ready to turn it over to you so that you could share some of the literature that you brought, I began to think about just recently, over the last 10 years, I've really paid attention to my health. I'm an ex-athlete. I played football, but I was a wrestler in college. Did several things, and I never really cared about my health because I felt I would live forever. But when I had my daughter, which just took us 10 years, me being an older father, I then began to look at my health and say, look, I want to live for my child. I don't want her to have her dad gone so early. And my doctor began to share some of the things that you shared. Watch this. This is very prone in your community, from the hypertension to the diabetes and a couple other things. And he's been watching it with me. And then here recently, being the pastor of a fairly nice-sized church, I wanted to make sure that I was even handling my mental right. So with the physical and the mental, I felt it was important. So much of what you're saying, a lot of it has to do with me now coming to the point where if my lifestyle is right, everything else falls into place. You know, and that's what I'm believing. So today, having you all here with us has just been a joy and a privilege. And I want you brought some literature with me, and I want you to just talk a little bit about it and make sure that people have the information they need so that they can be able to continue and do better than they're doing now.
Well, thank you for having us. I got to say, this is a big boost for the Diabetes Prevention Program. Our goal is to get the word out to people. And we do it through health fairs. Sometimes we do it through employers. We'll go in and speak to all of the employees about what we have to offer. And any platform that we have that we can get the word out is a welcome platform. So thank you for inviting us. We want to see more people of color in our classes because we know it affects certain groups more than other groups, and that's why this is our pamphlet. It gives a little bit of a background about the program itself. There's a risk test as part of it. Lupe had mentioned some of the risk factors. Being sedentary, being over the age of 45, having a parent with diabetes, having a sibling with diabetes, having a baby weighing more than 9 pounds at birth. These are all risks that could send you into diabetic territory. The program itself, when you get into the program, right now we're running it virtually. Because of the pandemic, we wanted to give people an opportunity to still take it. And I have to say, we've had some really big success with people coming on board because now they don't have to drive to the Y to take the program. They could just be in their house and they don't have to take that extra time. So we're offering it in a virtual platform right now. We'll ultimately also offer the face-to-face when it becomes more safe. But the program is a year-long, divided into 3 phases. In the first phase, you'll meet once a week, every week, for an hour. And by the time we get to that 16th week, we really want you to have hit those 2 goals. At the first 4 sessions, we're talking about nutrition. Sessions 5 and 6, we're talking about physical activity. And if it were so easy that we just eat less, exercise more, presto chango, I'm now without diabetes, then we'd all be without any issue. But the reality is very different from that. And our sessions between 7 and 16, those sessions are what I would call the heart of the program. And I always like to highlight session 11. Session 11 is called Talking Back to Negative Thoughts.
Oh.
When I speak to people and they get into the program, they have an enthusiasm because they hear the goals of the program, lose weight, exercise more, that's great, that's exactly what I want to do. And they're accountable to that goal, and that motivates them. And they've got group support, because we know that when you work in a group, it's easier to meet your individual goal when everyone is doing the same thing than if you try to do it on your own. And you've got the support of the coach, and right away we see people losing weight. Sessions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Somewhere around session 9 or 10, all of that enthusiasm has gone with the wind. And we're looking at people who plateau in weight loss or they start to go up in weight. And imagine what happens when you stand on the scale and you see, oh my gosh, my weight went up. First thing we think of, I'm failing. This program is too hard. I'll never get to that goal. I'm yo-yo dieting again. And all of a sudden we're down this rabbit hole of negative thinking that can derail all of our best laid plans. And we give you some tools on how to handle all of these curveballs that life throws our way so that it doesn't derail our best laid plans. Because life and weight loss, they have one big thing in common. They are not smooth sailing. It's going to happen. When you accept that, then you can ease into it with a little greater confidence that you will get to your goal. And by the time we get to that 16th week, you should have quite a few tools in your wheelhouse to draw upon for life's curveballs. And hopefully you will have hit those goals. The second phase of the program is session 17, 18, and 19. They meet every other week. So what we start to do is pull back the group support, and you become a little bit more independent, sure of your own choices, but you still get to come back to the group. It's just every other week instead of every week. And then the third phase of the program is sessions 20 through 25. These 6 sessions meet once a month. So really, from a time management perspective, I would say half of the year you're only going to be meeting once a month. But it also gives you that chance to really try out for like 4 weeks. Yeah, I can do this. And come back, see the group again, hear people's stories, share your stories. Everyone learns from each other. I always like to say the coach does not have all the answers. But collectively, I think the group has most of the answers.
Oh, yeah. And I can attest to that again because I was a participant in the program and I have got a lot of good, tips from other participants because, they all are, trying to reach the same goal. And another important thing to mention, it has to be, if you're going to make a change, it has to be a lifestyle change, or else, even with this program, if you take the program and you do really well, then you stop doing the program, and then you stop, then you're just gonna go right back to where you started. So really, you don't want that. You really want the changes that that you can make doing this program. That you can do all the time. Just managing the amount of food sometimes that you eat. For instance, not eating the whole bag of chips, but eating, a couple. That's gonna probably satisfy your hunger or your, and that's it. And it is something that you just have to keep doing in the long run. Yes. And that is why, again, the program is 1 year long.
Great.
A lot of people also worry about, oh my gosh, what's going to be the cost of doing this?
Yes, good question. Thank you for
so,
hosting.
The YMCA has relationships with various insurance providers in the state of Delaware. Okay. Those insurance providers will pick up the cost of the program as long as you qualify for the program. That would include Medicare and Medicaid.
Oh, okay.
So they are on board with us. If you have insurance that we don't have a relationship with, as long as we have grant money available,
that's excellent.
I'll give you the grant so that you don't have to pay for this.
So let's just be sure they understand that, because that's very key with the information that you've given. It's a year program, and well, I don't want to get into different phrases, but basically it starts out very intense with all the hooray stuff, and then you start withdrawing continuously as they're going to go to self-reliance.
Right.
Yep. But the part I liked is the financing. I can call my provider and say, listen, I would like to, should I call the provider or should I go to my doctor?
I'd say call your insurance provider and say, do you support the YMCA's diabetes prevention program?
Okay.
And if they do, then you know that you can go into this program and you won't see a cost for taking the program.
Right.
And if they don't, you should say, why don't you?
He told you to say that.
Yeah.
But that's true. That's true. But the good thing about it is, even if they don't, and if you say, why don't you, they may try to do it, but they don't. Then you said, if there is some extra grant money, you would still try to support a person.
Yes. So if the YMCA being a not-for-profit, we do get grants, and we try to put them towards programs like this so that people who are coming in who are in need, I mean, the cost of the program would be cost prohibitive for some people.
Yeah.
And so if we can offer a grant so that more people can take the program, then we're meeting our mission to meet our community where they are.
Right.
And that's I think part of the great thing about what the YMCA does.
Now, in a typical class, how many participants you may have several classes, but for one class, how many participants normally are in that class?
We try to cap it at 15.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I'll often, it's good to have 15 people in the cohort, because then there's a lot of interaction. A lot of people can throw out their ideas, and if it gets too small, then people feel the lack of participation, and they feel the burden of, I got to talk because there's no one else in the class. So we try to keep the classes somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 15 people.
Okay. Understood. That's very good. So I understand the cost, but we don't know the exact cost, but they can communicate with you all to get that.
Sure.
If by some chance their insurance provider is not providing, not insuring it, as well as if there's no grant money available. Now, is this right now? Is on not Zoom, but it's on on social media now, or you do it through Zoom or something of that nature, right?
Yeah, we do it. It depends upon the coach. Some of the coaches have their own Zoom accounts.
Okay.
We want to make sure it's HIPAA compliant.
Okay.
So that I don't know if you remember when the world was going into Zoom at the onset of the pandemic, we had people crashing into Zoom meetings. That's not okay for us.
Right.
This is a HIPAA compliant program. We're very focused on your privacy.
Okay.
And so as a result, our interactions with participants are based on me not disclosing things. For example, I'll call somebody who may have called and said, hey, can you call me back about the diabetes prevention program? If I call back and I get a voicemail greeting that says, hi, please leave a message, I don't know who could be listening to that message. Right. So I say, you called about a healthy living program versus you called about a diabetes prevention program.
Absolutely.
I'm very sensitive, and Lupe is very sensitive about protecting your privacy.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
that's good. But there's also in face-to-face. Not right now during the pandemic, but there's a face-to-face. What time or is that weekend classes? in the evenings, I'm sure it's probably, or is it during the day?
We typically will run classes in daytime, being morning mostly.
Okay.
Very rarely do we have a class at 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
But then the rest of the classes would be late afternoon, early evening.
Okay.
And that accommodates a whole group of people. There are a lot of senior citizens that don't like to drive at night.
Right.
So they would prefer a daytime class. There are a lot of people who are working during the day who can't take a daytime class, and they prefer the evening classes. And we did recently, before the Delta variant started on the rise, we experimented with another face-to-face group. That does meet on Saturdays.
Okay.
So we're open to what the community needs.
That's excellent. So tell the people, if they want more information, where should they call?
So there are several numbers. Okay. One of them is 302-572-9622. 9622 YMCA.
Oh. Now, what is that number to?
That number comes to the Healthy Living Department.
Okay.
You can leave a message there. We are so frequently on the phones that it's very unusual that we would answer. So I don't want you to feel that that's a barrier because you got a voicemail message.
Also, sorry,
Yep.
if you go to the YMCA, YMCA.org or YMCA website, YMCADE.org. If you look under programs, you'll find the diabetes prevention program there. In there, you'll be able to take a risk quiz, to see if you are at risk of having prediabetes. And you can fill that out. That's going to ask you for your phone number and your email address. And, we'll get that and we'll reach out to you.
So
if
just
that's
to make sure
easier.
that they caught that and make sure that they clearly understand. You said YMCADE.
Yes.
.org. Okay, so we'll have that on the screen as well so
Yeah.
that they can see, because I really want people to tune in and I want people to really see this lifestyle. And you said there's many numbers. Is there another number you wanted to give?
Do you have a...
No, just that one for now. We're in the process of moving on.
Things are changing up, and so we...
Because Peter's living. So.
Yeah, and that's how I wanted to end this segment. Once you've given that information, life is offering you something bigger, not better, but bigger. That's not because.
But it's different. I mean, I told you that I've basically spent my entire life in the performing arts.
Right.
Starting off as an actor, even in church.
Yeah.
I would be the lector for school masses.
Okay.
So I was in 3rd grade when that was happening.
Okay.
And, I was in the school plays, and then I wound up on operatic stages. And my life is in performing arts. It's always been in the performing arts. And I've always felt I wanted to work with a performing arts organization. And so I'm about to embark as the managing director of First State Ballet Theater.
Oh, wow.
So I'm looking forward to all of that happening. That'll start at the end of this month.
Okay.
And a totally new chapter for an old dog.
Well, I know you will bring it new life because you have such energy. Peter, I just need you to make me one promise. Once you're in for a little bit, come back to the show and let's see how we're doing. I'm going to make sure I bring Maria back for the diabetes part, but I want you to come back and just see how we're doing. And with that side of the life, the drama, and I know you'll do well. And if some Sunday you want to stop by and do a selection, that'd be great. We're gonna be open for you to be able to do that because we're a very diverse church. So I want to thank both of you. This has been a joy having you with me, and I hope and trust that you all enjoyed yourselves with us today.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Somebody have learned something new, and their lives are now changed.
Yeah,
we'll be right back.
So.
And we're back. Well, today has been awesome. It has been an awesome experience for me, as well as for those of you who have been watching us. Peter and Maria certainly did a phenomenal job of making it plain and simple. It's about changing a lifestyle. And that lifestyle, if you are consistent in it, you can prevent going full into diabetes. So I am just hoping that you all learned something today, that you're walking away, you remember the numbers that they gave you. Why don't you think about joining the Y or joining the class? Because listen, sometimes we'll do better when we're around people of like mind. So if you be a part of the class, this will help you, and then you can recruit some, and before you know it, your whole family will be living in a life of health. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I pray that God will continue to bless you. As we had the guests, Maria and Peter, they both were a blessing to us, and I hope you will take this information and do well. Until the next time we get together, God bless you.